steps. Right now, we're in the legislative process, and we're getting a charter to be approved by the legislature to combine. And what's that mean after that is, we try to do all the things that don't cost money first. And so we're gonna have a public hearing where we'll set it up with each town, public hearing, and people can attend, we'll have a question and answer, more detail of what you might want to ask, what's going on here. So we're into that, and so we'll schedule the hearings in each town, and then there'll have to be a vote. So after we go, there'll have to be a vote. Each town has to vote on this, whether they want us to combine and don't want us to combine. If one town votes not to combine and one does, it's dead in the water. So the next thing for us on this list is bond council. So that's where you start to have to spend some money with the lawyers and stuff to make sure all our easements and all that stuff is put together. So, but we're gonna do the meeting here sometime soon. This is the study that Maine Rural Water gave out, and they looked through all the books and everything, and they felt very strongly that we should combine because of all the savings with everything. You know, your vehicles, your gas, office, you got more help on the ground instead of one and one. Now you have three people you can put to resource to get something done, and the cross training. So if somebody's out one place, you've got other people who can sanitate. We can go back and forth, and that knowledge of the systems is that much greater than what it was. I know I kind of jumped around. They want to keep it 5 minutes. So. Everybody in town votes. It's not just the people in the districts that are served by the sanitary and water. It's the whole town votes. So that's why we're going to have a public hearing. More people can come, hopefully, and ask questions on where we are. We'll also have a representative from Maine Rural Water there at that point in time. So if there's any technical questions, they'll be there to answer those that we might not be able to answer. But we feel, the boards feel, that this is a very good move. It's a positive move. And again, it's to save you money. Just on the water side, we're geared every third year to have a rate increase just to keep up. And hopefully, if we can do this combining, we can go a number of years without having raises. We keep the prices low. Everything's going up.
That sounds good.
I think it's a good time.
Thanks, Jeff. Yep.
Hi. I can see him on the ground, so I guess I'm
That'll teach you. So there's still quite a few on that side over there.
All right, good evening. I'm Mona Bell, your town manager. And in the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Sangerville and the county of Piscataqua in the state of Maine qualified to vote in town affairs to assemble at the Great Bible Community Room, 40 Darby Hill Road, on April 13, 2023 at 6 p.m. in the evening, then and there to act on the following articles to wit. So the first article is article number 1. We need to choose a moderator to preside over said meeting. Do we have a nomination, please?
I nominate Paul Davis.
And do we have a second? Paul? Paul Davis, we have a nomination from Paul. So can I get 3 people to come up and cast a ballot over to the table, please?
kind of go from there.
I'm not doing any of those 3 ballot things. I might not even vote today.
Can you watch the number of people here?
I know. It's got to be over 100 a workshop. I want to know how much money we're going to make on solar.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You think not?
Kathy, could you come on ballot?
We have 3 ballots.
3 for Paul? Paul, come on up.
Come on. All right, I gotta sit up straight. Is Danny here?
Yes, he's in the back.
Yeah.
Mike and Debbie.
Oh, there she is.
She's always in the back.
So she knew about that $980,000.
I bless her, don't you worry. It's not over yet either. It's a little iffy at my house at the moment. Just remember.
I like that.
That's okay. It's your only reminder. Yeah.
I mean, remember that year that we voted and voted and voted and voted, and they couldn't get it to pass? I mean, is there a point where,
No.
what, do they just keep voting?
They have to. And that's honestly, that is the only form that I know of that people can actually go to, like here, you can reduce.
Okay, yeah.
That means
You can-
you can increase at that. Yeah.
Huh, interesting. But still, it has to pass.
But it's just, to me, it's fascinating. that I-
Yeah. Yeah, that seems.
Good evening, everybody.
Paul, you get somebody know?
Harry does. Let's hope.
In your town report, we will go off the
Oh,
numbers.
she is. Mike
Yeah.
said yes.
And we need to remember them. Thank you. Let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the country of Allah. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's have a town meeting, folks. Let's all remember, we leave here tonight, we want to be good friends and neighbors, like we were when we came. Okay? Good. Item 2, to adopt the Maine Moderator's Manual published by the Maine Municipal Association and Authority on the rules and procedures to conduct the annual town meeting. I have a copy of it right here. It's a mail motion. We have a motion, do we have a second? Second. Discussion, anybody? All those in favor, please raise your... Okay. All those opposed? It's a vote. Item 3, to ascertain if non-resident speakers are present and whether or not inhabitants wish to call upon them to be heard. We've heard from 2. Are there any other non-resident speakers that wish to be heard? Anybody? If not, I guess we can pass over the item. Already heard? Okay. Item 4. To elect one selectman, assessor, and overseer of the poor for a 3-year term and fixed compensation. I will take nominations.
I'd like to nominate Chris Brown.
We have a nomination for Chris Brown, and we have a second. Other nominations.
I nominate Jody Pettis.
We have a nomination, Jody Cabot. We have a second. We have a second. Other nominations. Hearing none, I would accept the motion for nomination for seats. Somebody wishes to make that motion?
Motion.
We have a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of nomination seats, please raise your line colored staff. All those opposed, to vote. The state law requires that selectmen and school board be elected by secret ballot. So, I'm sure they have some over there? Yes,
Could we have Chris stand up?
yes, certainly, certainly. You live here in Sangerville, Chris?
Yes, sir.
And Jody?
Yes.
You live here in Sangerville, too? Jody Cabot. Okay.
You guys may be
Over
having some
there.
fun.
Wait just one
Want to
second.
speak?
Your last name, Chris, is
Because I was going to make a motion to let you both speak.
R-O-W-E-L-L?
No.
Okay, thank you.
What about
Cabot, C-H-A-B-O-T.
C-A-B, C-A-B-O-T.
Doesn't do any good to take the paperwork that we're supposed to do.
I was gonna, that's where I was gonna go, but they're not gonna care.
They're not gonna care.
But you know what, he's done.
Oh, I mean, I guess I should, well, it's too late, but I mean, the whole thing with nomination papers.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's done.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yep, yep. Oh, well, we shall see.
That's why there's so many people.
Yep. Nude's not here. Oh, Rick's here. Rick's got his mask on. The nude's on here. I don't see
I have your attention just for a second. The ladies over here just told me that if you are not registered to vote, you can register tonight, right over here.
I'll wait till the line goes down. I should have gotten out and spent my mine with no nomination.
It's not gonna matter.
Yeah. And no, it doesn't make any difference, but it.
But even with that, you can't
Yeah, we
stop
can't.
anybody.
No, so it's a move. I should drive everybody out there.
The only thing that irks me is, I guess my own personal view. It doesn't show much of how somebody's going to be a selectman if they can't follow the rules, but how you become a selectman.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Right. Well, it's interesting because I was talking to Dad, and Dad said, no, I said, is the fire department coming? And he's like, yeah. And he said, nobody's running against you now.
Right, they go by.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
I've heard of quite a few people predicting that they're working from home. People who follow them they're on the clock.
Hey,
A lot of
Toby.
places are trying to pull that back in.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. But when you're on your clock, it doesn't matter because you work from home. That's
Right,
still your.
right. Yeah. Well, looks like
you were betting a pizza. It's funny, I had a sense when the numbers swell. That's like,
I don't know what you're talking about. No.
Oh, I want to say.
We're conducting official business.
I know, but I'm nervous. It's funny because Rick was like, don't be complacent, you should be calling people. Was that a French bulldog?
did Rick come?
Yeah, he's here, he's masked.
Okay.
So you probably won't recognize.
I've seen it come down to one.
Yeah.
I lost to Tom Crowley too. Well, then I got it later.
Yeah.
Which could happen. It's not going to be that fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, for us.
But I mean,
Has everyone
Increase this.
voted that wish to vote?
It's time to increase this.
Is there anyone that wishes to vote that hasn't? Okay, then I'll close the balloting, and I would ask the three people over there if they would count the ballots. And while they're doing that, we'll move along. We need to fix the compensation for whoever wins this, and apparently the recommendation is $800 per year. Do we have a motion? For $800 a year, who made that, please? Okay, do we have a second? Discussion? Yes, Mr. Hall?
Increasing, can we do that tonight?
No. It's in the printed, I don't believe you can.
You can go down, you can't go up.
Hey, got it. I'm sure they like that.
I'm voting. Do I
I'm
need to
sorry,
get out
but
of
it's
this?
printed in the
You get
article.
voted out till the end when you get
Yeah.
sworn in. You're here to the end.
Any other discussion? If you favor $800 a year, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote, one vote against it. Okay. Okay, well, they're counting the ballots. We do have to elect the school board members too, but we have to do it the same way state law requires, a written ballot. So, for the two positions, selectman and school board. Sanitary district, we don't have to do that, but I guess there's going to be a few minutes, so let's go on to Article 5. See if the town will set a date when taxes on real estate and personal property shall be due and payable, and set a rate of interest to be charged on taxes unpaid after said date. The recommended due date is August 31st, 2023. The maximum allowed is 8% per Title 36 MRSA 5054-A. And this article was recommended by the select board and recommended that 8% is charged after August 31st. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Second. And the motion is pass it as I read it? Discussion? Anyone? Uh-oh.
Why do we have such an increase?
Why what?
Why do we have such an increase? What was it last year? Was it 8% last year?
It was 4.
It was 4.
Why did we double it?
That's what the state set it at, was 8 this year.
So it has to be 8%? We can't lower it?
It doesn't have to be, but it's a maximum.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to pass at 8%. If that motion fails, then we can do another motion. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, if you favor the article as I read it, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hands. All right. Article 6, to see if the town will authorize prepayment of real estate and personal property taxes and pay no interest thereon. And that's Title 36 MRSA 36-506. Can we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed, raise your hands. Vote. Article 7, to see if the town, in accordance with Title 36 MRSA 506-A, will vote that a taxpayer who pays an amount in excess of that finally assessed on April 1st, 2023, shall be repaid the amount of overpayment plus interest from the date of the overpayment at the annual rate of 2%. And the recommendation from the select board is 2% per annum. We have a motion?
Motion.
We have a second? And the motion is as I read it?
Correct.
Discussion? Anyone? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? To vote? I have the results. Okay, we will go back to Article 4. And Jody Cabot received 35 votes, and Chris Rowell received 26. Jody Cabot is the winner. And congratulations, Jody.
Thank you.
And Chris, I know what it's like to space out there. Thank you for running. There. Okay, we need to elect 2 school board members for a 3-year term. Let's elect one, and we'll elect another. Yes, ma'am.
I nominate Matt Bell.
We have a nomination of Matt Bell. We have a second?
Second.
Other nominations? We've got to elect 2 folks. Anybody else want to serve on the school board? I served on it for 9 years. Lovely position. Gail Sutton served on it. Cindy Hall served on it. Bunch of us have. My wife served on it. So, you're nominating Toby Hall? Oh, you were pointed at him. I thought you were nominated. We have 1 nomination. The selectmen can appoint to the school board, I believe. So it does require a written ballot. So if at least 3 people would bring their ballots over there, so go over and vote for Matt Bell or anybody else who wants.
We should just, anybody who decides they want to be one after tonight, the select board can appoint this position, just so they know.
Yes, you need to understand that if anyone, after they go through tonight, decides they would like to be on the school board, the board of selectmen can appoint to that position. Have all voted that wish to vote? And we'll close it. And tell somebody, Matt Bell win.
Yes, Matt Bell. Matt Bell, yes.
Amandia. 3 votes for Matt Bell. Congratulations, Matt. All right. You got that. There it is, right there. Congratulations, Matt. Okay, we need to elect 1 sanitary district trustee for a 3-year term.
I nominate Toby Cleaves.
We have a nomination of Toby Cleaves. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Other nominations? I accept the motion for nominations to cease. Anybody want to make it?
So moved.
We have a second? Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of nomination ceasing? The sanitary district is a position that we do not have a written ballot. So Toby Cleaves is unopposed. Those who would like to elect Toby Cleaves, please raise your hands. And those who don't want it, Toby, you got it unanimously. Stand up, show your face, show them what they just elected. Okay. Let's move right along. Article 8, to see if the town will allow a discount of 2% on taxes paid in full before 5 p.m. on July 31st, and vote to allow for payments received on taxes to be applied to the taxpayer's oldest outstanding tax bill. We have a motion? Motion. We have a second? Second. Discussion. Anybody? Floor is yours. Okay. If you favor the article as I read it, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Article 9, to see if the town will authorize the select board on behalf of the town to sell cemetery lots. 30% of the revenue shall be put into perpetual care trust fund account. We have a motion? Motion. We have a second? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9 as I read it? All those opposed? Vote. Article 10, to see if the town will authorize the select board on behalf of the town to sell and disperse of real estate and personal property acquired by the town for non-payment of taxes therein. The revenue received from tax-acquired property shall be used to pay the back taxes, and any additional revenue shall be put in the general fund on such terms as they deem advisable, and to execute quitclaim deeds for such property. Can we have a motion? Motion. We have a second. Discussion? Anyone? Hearing seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Excuse me. Article 11, to see if the town will authorize the municipal officers to spend only those funds necessary for the operation of the town of Sangerville during the period from January 1st, 2024 to the 2024 annual town meeting. May we have a motion? Motion. We have a second? Discussion? Anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? To vote. Article 12, to see if the town will authorize the select board to accept or refuse any donations or gifts on behalf of the town. Article 12, we have a motion. Motion. We have a second? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? To vote. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to apply for and accept grants from private, state, and federal agencies that do not require matching funds from the town or impose contractual obligations to the town. May we have a motion? We have a second. Discussion? Anybody? Hearing, seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? To vote. Article 14, to see if the town will allow the municipal officers to accept revenue generated from plumbing permits and to expend these funds, to the licensed plumbing inspector as compensation. Article 14, do we have a motion? Motion. We have a second? Discussion? Anybody? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? To vote. Article 15, to see if the town, shall the town vote to give monies in the amount of $860 raised from the state snowmobile registrations received in 2023 to the Four Winds Snowmobile Club. Can we have a motion? Motion. We have a second? Discussion? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Should that be 2022?
Received in 2023.
I received it, we received it in 2023, the payment, yeah.
Town manager said we received it in 2023. Any other discussion? Hearing none, if you favor the article, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hands. It's a vote. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to accept the money raised from the Maine Highland Credit Union Dress Down Fridays in the amount of $169 received in 2023 to the Sangerville Veterans Memorial Park. Can we have a motion? We have a second. Discussion? Anybody? Hearing and seeing none, if you favor the article as I read it, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hands. A vote. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to allow the municipal officers to expend revenue from the overlay as necessary to account for factual differences in computing the tax rate, abatements, if any, and the 2% discount for taxes paid in full before 5 p.m. July 31st, 2023. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Moving right along, folks. Article 18, to see what sum of money the town of Sangerville will vote to fund approved Articles 21 through 15 inclusive. Excise, $250,000. Main revenue share, $176,000. Local road assistance program, $34,000. Dedicated revenue smart fund, $2,000. Other revenue, $35,250. Homestead exemption, and this is an estimation of $70,000. A total of $567,250. The rest to be raised through property taxes. And the recommendation is a yes vote. Can we have a motion? Motion. Do we have a second? Discussion. Anyone? Hearing and seeing none, if you favor the article as I read it, please raise your hands. If you oppose, raise your hands. It's a vote. Excuse me again. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to use up to $15,000 from undesignated revenue in the event of overdrafts, unforeseen events, or emergencies. Any use of this contingency agreement must be voted on at a select board meeting, and the expenditures will be listed in the subsequent town report. Transfer of undesignated revenue in excess of $15,000 must be authorized by a vote of a special town meeting. And in parentheses here is $4,612.42 was overdraft in the 2022 fire department budget, and $128.56 from the 2022 cemetery budget, for a total of $4,740.98, approved at a select meeting of February 14, 2023, to be covered by the 2022 contingency. And the recommended by the select board and the budget committee is $15,000. Do we have a motion with the recommendation? Motion. Do we have a second? Second. Discussion. Anybody? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Article 20. To see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for general government not to exceed $309,320.15. And the recommendation by the select board and the budget committee is $309,320.15, $30,000 general fund, and $279,320.15 to be raised. We have a motion. We have a second. We have a second. We have one. Discussion? Yes, Mrs. Hall.
I just have one question that I didn't quite understand, and I've been out of state, so this is the first chance I've had to look at the book. On page 44, under assessors, the previous budget was $14,000, and now it's $47,000. Do you have an explanation for that?
That's the 30,000 for ambulance.
Oh,
Just
I got a bum leg, but that's okay. We need to do a reassessment, and our valuation has fallen, and we're not alone. Communities all around us are going through this. The state uses a ratio calculation, and it's affecting our homestead exemption. All of us are going to see a reduction in our homestead exemption this year because our valuation has dropped. In order to correct that, we had to increase our budget for our assessor so that they could do the work necessary to bring us back up. So that's what that's about.
Is that a one-year thing, or will we have to do it several
It just, if it, I can't imagine we'd have to do it every year, but we might have to do it again in 2 or 3 years. In a meeting that we had with him, he said Bangor has adopted 10% a year, they just keep doing it. So I don't really know what's gonna happen.
Anyone else? Any discussion? Okay, if there is none, if you favor the article that I read and the recommendation of the select board and the budget committee, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hand. To vote. Article 20. Proceed.
No. 21.
21, excuse me, 21. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the fire department reserve for fire department expenses not to exceed $13,306. And the recommendation by the select board, the fire chief, and the budget committee is $13,306. Can we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a second? We have a second? Discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Article 22. To see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for fire department not to exceed $49,194. And the recommendation by the select board, the fire chief, and the budget committee is $49,194. We have a motion.
Motion.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a second. Discussion? If you favor Article 22, as I read it, with a figure of $49,194 in it, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hand. Vote. Article 23, to see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for animal welfare not to exceed $2,800. And the recommendation of the selectmen, the select board, and the budget committee is $2,800. Do we have a motion? We have a second? Discussion. Anybody? Anybody at all? If you favor the article as I read it, with the figure of 2,800, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hands. If you don't. Article 24, to see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for protection, including street lights and hydrants not to exceed $45,200. And recommended by the select board and budget committee is $45,200. We need a motion. We have a motion. We have a second. A motion to pass the article as I read it. This is discussion. Yes, sir.
Yes, how many hydrants do we have in town, Secretary? 21. 21?
21.
How many streetlights? Does anybody know?
13, I think.
Seems kind of steep, Paul.
It's actually state controlled.
Any other discussion? Somebody else had a hand up there. Yes, sir. Stand
Do
there.
we know how much the budget was for that cost last year? I don't just the book today, so I'm
I have
not
no idea.
sure. Does anybody know?
Does the fire chief know? Does anyone know?
For the hydrants, it was 40,000, I believe. Let me,
Streetlights actually went down because we went to LED.
streetlights went down because we went to LED. That's the only electric bill that's gone down, has been streetlights.
I can, when I started doing this, I thought the same thing about fire hydrants, is like, that seems, it's really a mechanism for funding the water district. If we pulled all the fire hydrants, we still would have to come up with this money. So that's really what that's about. So,
I think it is something to do with homeowners too, doesn't it?
yeah, we have a water district, we've got to pay for it, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, so if we're gonna keep this budget at, say, the 45.2, what are they planning to do if they're trying to reduce that? Are they gonna remove hydrants? Or take
No.
them out?
Shouldn't
No, it's not gonna change.
The answer is no. Any other discussion? Feel free.
I thought the same thing, so. like-
Being here, none, if you favor Article 24, as I read it, $45,200 in it, please raise your hands. Okay. If you oppose it, raise it. To vote. Article 25, to see what sum of money the town will raise and appropriate for public works, not to exceed $475,036.80. And the recommendation by the select board and budget committee is $45,036.80. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Pass the article as I read it, and that figure in it. Discussion? Anybody? Anyone have any discussion? in Public Works? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Seeing none, if you favor the article, with a figure of $475,036.80, please raise your hand. You oppose it, raise your hand. Vote. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the general fund for the purpose of road maintenance and improvements not to exceed $200,000. And the recommendation by the select board and budget committee is $200,000. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to pass the article. We have a second? We have a second. Discussion. Anyone? Anyone at all? Feel free to talk. Okay, if there is no discussion, then if you favor the article, as I read it, for $200,000, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Excuse me again, Article 27, to see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for health and sanitation, not to exceed $119,860. And the recommendation by the select board and the budget committee is $119,860. Do we have a motion? We have a second. We have a second. Discussion. Anyone? Yes, sir?
I'd like to know what that entails.
I'd like to know what that entails. Do we have someone here that can tell us what that entails?
All the sanitation guys left?
That's garbage.
Yeah, it's what we pay for Dexter.
It's our contract.
Health and sanitation.
Do you want to
Isn't
answer?
this?
That's Dexter.
Sewer and Dexter?
It's almost Dexter.
It's our contract,
For the landfill.
it's our contract with the Dexter facility, well, that's actually in Corinna, where your trash goes. 118,000 for that. We have $800 for the septic with Patterson's, I believe it's on the,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
on the old landfill.
Pumping.
Pumping,
Yeah.
and then 300 for stickers.
Okay, Mike, you got it? All right. Other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, if you favor the article for $119,860, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. We had 2 or 3 up back opposed it. They were outnumbered. Article 28, to see what sum of money the town will vote to raise and appropriate for municipal welfare not to exceed $5,000. The recommendation by the select board and budget committee is $5,000. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Discussion? Anyone? If you favor the article with a figure of $5,000 in it, please raise your hands. If you oppose, raise your hand. It's a vote. Article 30. Whoop, no, Article 29. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the monument lot reserve for monument lot expenses not to exceed $475. The recommendation of the select board and the budget committee is $475. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Discussion? Anyone? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Article 30. To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the monument lot reserve for parks and recreation expenses not to exceed $5,540, and the recommendation by the select board and the budget committee is $5,540. We have a motion? We have a second. We have a second. Discussion? Anyone? Yes, sir.
Why are we moving money from a reserve account dedicated to the monument downtown to the Parks and Rec department?
It's not solely to the monument downtown. That donation came from, wasn't it the American Legion?
Yes.
And they specifically said we could use it for the Veterans Park as well as the monument.
Okay. Okay, that's what you wanted. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of Article 30 with 5540 in it? All those opposed? It's a vote. Article 31, to see if the town will vote to appropriate from the cemetery trust fund for cemetery expense not to exceed $18,300. The recommendation by the select board and the budget committee is $18,300. Do you have a motion? Do you have a second? Do you have a second? Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. If you favor the article, $18,300, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Capital Article 32, to see if the town will authorize the municipal officers to sign a 2-year contract for roadside mowing for the years 23 and 2024. This will allow the town to save money by setting the prices for multiple years. Can we have a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have a second? Discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Do we have anyone in mind to do that? There's no amount here, is this just?
Last year, we used Vance Lambert out of Charleston, and it was $2,500. He generally does a 3-year contract. We could only do a 1-year contract because we had already had the town vote. So that's why we're just making it a continuation from that contract from last year.
Anyone else? Any other discussion? If you favor the article as I read it, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. Vote. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to authorize the municipal officers to dispose of town-owned property with a value of $10,000 or less under such terms and conditions as they deem advisable. We have a motion? Motion. We have a second. We have a second. Discussion? Anyone? Yes. Pardon? What kind of property are you considering?
There isn't anything. We don't have anything right now in mind. It's just a standard question every year in case something does come up. So we do have permission to do it, that's all.
Okay. Anyone else? Anybody? If you favor Article 33, as I read it, with a value of $10,000 or less in it, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Article 34, to see if the town will vote to accept to see if the town will vote to accept an annual donation of funds from the Millard and Marjorie Smart Trust Fund, and to accept the donor's condition that the funds be used to defray town school expenses and to appropriate such donation toward the town's share of RSU 80 costs for FY23, and the estimated donation for 2023 is $2,000. Can we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a second? Second. Discussion? I remember these folks. They live right here. They owned the store here on the corner, I believe, years ago. A long time ago. They lived up on Church Street on the right. Interesting. They've been gone a long time. If there is no discussion, if you favor the articles I read, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Article 35, to see if the town will approve summer and winter maintenance for the Turner Road and from the North Dexter Road, Route 23, 2,875 feet to the driveway of the property listed as map 4, lot 84, and the Jackson Corner Road from the North Dexter Road, Route 23 again, 0.6 of a mile towards Parkman Town Line. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion to accept the article. We have a second. Discussion? Yes.
How much do they think this will cost to put it down?
I couldn't hear you.
How much is it going to cost for us to take over?
Yes.
This is already a town road.
It's already a town.
Yeah, we already do this every year.
We just have to,
Yeah.
put it on the warrant every year.
It's the way the road is listed through the town. We have to ask every year to continue to do it. Yes.
Okay.
Same as the next one.
Any other discussion? It's true. Hearing none, if you favor the articles I read, please raise your hands. If you oppose it, raise your hands to vote. Article 36, to see if the town will approve summer maintenance for the Norton Mills Road from East Sangerville Road to the intersection of the Borough Road. We have a motion?
Motion.
We have a second? We have a second. We have a second, discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Vote. Article 37, general ordinance entitled Town of Sangerville Solar Array Energy Systems Ordinance be enacted, and a copy of the ordinance is attached to the warrant and incorporated by reference. Can we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, discussion. Yes, sir.
In the ordinance in the matter of Article 7, talks about inspection.
Speak right up, please.
Right, in Article 7, talks about the inspection fees as well as the application fees in Article 6. For somebody to just put a standard solar system on top of their home.
No.
Would that be $5,000 for the electric system itself plus the...
Has nothing to do with residential.
This ordinance does not apply to any residential. It's residentially, if you want to put something on your roof, or you don't even have to actually ask. This is only commercial size facilities. And I can tell you that there is one and possibly two in the works, so they're coming. And these are huge investments that we need to be able to monitor. So.
Hey, do you want to speak a minute and explain
Other
why we're
discussion?
doing this?
Yes, ma'am.
When you say they're coming, where are they coming to? Sangerville?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Where are they going to be?
There's one that's already proposed, they haven't broken ground yet, and the town itself actually has a company that has shown interest in our property, and I have no idea how many others are being talked about, but I'm sure there are. It's coming fast.
Where's the proposed one?
Will there
Well, that
be
really
a
matters.
vote on that to allow that?
Well, we could have an ordinance that banned them completely. I think this is in the better interest of Sangerville. This really puts some teeth and protection for the town, so that if you don't have an ordinance and these things come to your town and the company doesn't do all the things you'd expect them to do, you don't have much recourse. With this ordinance, we've protected the town's interest. These things go on for 20, possibly even 40 years. All the cleanup costs are anticipated. Inflation is built in. We didn't dream this up on our own. We hired an attorney that specializes in this. This is an existing ordinance in another town. The application fees are significant. Like I said, these are huge corporations. These facilities will be traded on the exchanges. This is big business, and it's coming to Sangerville and everywhere around us. So.
How is this going to protect us? So I don't know, I think there's a lot of farmers here that really enjoy looking out their backyard and seeing the beautiful sunsets and the beautiful land that God gave us. So how is that going to protect us, our residents, from all those coming in and us having to look at that? Is there something in here that's going to protect what beautiful land that we have so we don't have to look at that?
Well, first of all,
What if we don't want it?
if you don't want it, you would never have to put it on your land. But well, a lot of this is around infrastructure. If you have the right type of phase 3 wire, which we don't have a lot of it, for example, it ends at the sawmill down here. It's hard to imagine a scenario where these things are going to be placed where that doesn't exist. But the town land, for example, it's right there between Pleasant and McFeeters. We've got phase 3 on both sides of that. So they have an interest in that. Whether we do it or not, that remains to be seen. But right now, there are very few locations where this would work. But I don't know what the future. I know there's a potato farmer in Exeter who's cutting down timber and is going to put one of these in. So.
And this ordinance will help us kind of make
Very much so, and our one of our biggest concerns is these are highly subsidized. We don't know what these things are going to look like 15 years from now. And so there's provisions in this, they have to be bonded at the front end. And we're anticipating inflation costs for 20 plus years, so that if somebody tries to walk away from this thing, we have the resources to clean it up. And in a town that doesn't have an ordinance, it could be very costly to fix that problem. So
the bond would cover cleanup costs if the subsidies go away, the federal government figures out they owe too much money.
right now, approximately, these things are, the electricity they generate is paid at 300% of what wholesale really is. That's why they're coming here. Now, if they change the rules in 10 years, it probably won't be quite so popular, and they may walk away from these things. So the other thing is, these are big facilities. They're complicated. They have high-tech materials in them. We want to be able to inspect them. Our code enforcement officer is probably going to have to renegotiate with us because he's going to have hours looking at these things and making sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. We're going to hire electrical engineers to make sure that our code enforcement knows exactly what he needs to do. All of this is covered in this ordinance. So, yes, Matt.
Jared.
I'm sorry, it's on my mind. Good try.
I'm Jared Peters, I chair the planning board. Solar farms are coming. This is our opportunity to allow our citizens, if they choose to have one, to do it, but to be able to do it to protect all the rest of us from future liability. They're coming. This ordinance is good. I think it's well thought out and well done.
Somebody over here. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. One of the things in here says that disposal of all solid, and this is about decommissioning and stuff. Disposal of all solid and hazardous waste in accordance with the local, state, and federal waste disposal regulations. What regulations and what guidelines and codes exist right now about the disposal of solar panels?
I don't know them precisely, but there's considerable. Kind of similar to shoreline zoning, the state of Maine already has their regulations around decommissioning, but the bar is pretty low. When we worked with the planning board on this, like shoreline zoning, you're allowed to do something more robust, more protective, and that's what we've done. We felt like the state's rules were minimalist at best. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yes, sir. I'll get you next. You're next.
Matt Bell, we're on the planning board with Jerry, and this is it is a good ordinance, but it is, from what I've heard here, if we vote this down and we put in a moratorium in effect, can we actually put in an ordinance to ban completely? Can that happen?
That is possible. The problem is if that doesn't pass, you could be in a position where you have these facilities coming in and you have no ordinance.
If one doesn't pass?
If the banning doesn't pass.
Okay,
So you're like 2 years out.
Right, so if we vote this down and we put the moratorium in effect, does that protect the town to be able to write a new ordinance to completely ban the array from the town?
I don't know that, I really don't know that we can do that, but I don't know that we cannot. I'd have to ask legal. I don't know that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Rowell, did you wish to speak?
I think I almost had the answer to my question. My question was, if we vote this down and we vote down the moratorium, that means I can put a solar farm on top of my buildings and that's that.
No, that's not correct. If both of these get voted down, they can come here and there'll be no regulation on our part.
Right.
Right, correct, right. Yes.
No?
Well, I know.
Mrs. Rhodes.
I'm trying to create an example.
Okay.
What is the taxable value?
That's a good question. Currently, the state's policy is that this land will be treated as commercial land. So if you put 10 acres that was in tree growth into commercial solar, that's going to be, well, the state's also capped this. That's another subsidy. But it's going to go from what it is now, a few $100s, to $15,000 an acre. That's currently the minimum. So the town will get some revenue from this. The application fees are significant. These are, like I said, the calculation doesn't look like much. When you start the 50 cents per kilowatt, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars just in application fees that you won't get if you don't have an ordinance. Same thing for the inspection. There's an annual fee that's significant that pays for us to inspect these things to make sure they're taken care of in the way they're supposed to.
I'm going to mention infrastructure's not taxable.
What's that?
You said earlier, if we choose to do nothing about this, then it falls back on state regulations?
Well, there are state regulations. Yeah. Yes, there are.
Well, like the comprehensive plan, for instance, we voted down for, I don't know, 20 years. And the state, we never did pass one. So we reverted to state law rules. So it would be similar with solar.
Yeah, I think shoreline zoning is a good example. You don't have, if your community doesn't do anything on shoreline zoning, the state minimums still apply.
Yeah,
So that's, yeah. I've read what the current minimums are with regard to like decommissioning and things like that. They don't even account for inflation. Some of them don't even trigger an assessment of what it would cost until there's only 5 years left. I mean, who knows what they're going to look like by then?
Well, I'm not saying they're good regulations. I'm just saying that's the fallback.
That's the default. That's correct. Yep.
Well, no.
Somebody over here. Yes, sir.
No, we still be responsible, but those laws will be.
I think the ordinance is a great thing we're gonna have to protect us. But I'm curious on, if they build a solar farm on town property, they maintain all the equipment. Who maintains the property itself? Is that gonna fall back on us, or thousands of dollars we come and we gotta dump back into the property to maintain the mower?
We'll talk about that, part of the contract. Yeah, in the workshop.
That's all part of the contract. And we haven't agreed to anything. We can't agree to anything. There will be a proposal, but yeah, there's language in there that they even have to paint things, and all of that would be inspected by code enforcement.
Would, if I might ask, the selectmen come back to the town if there was a proposal to build one of these on town property?
Absolutely, we would have.
You'd have to come to the town, and have a town meeting.
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
I know that the ordinance is for maintenance and things like that, protecting us in that way. Is there anything in the ordinance that provides the power that's coming out of it? Is it doing anything for us?
That's an interesting question. It gets sold. It belongs to the company that invests all that infrastructure. And the person or the entity that's leasing the land to them gets paid for the land. But the electricity itself just goes onto the grid, and it's traded in a secondary market as green energy. So.
Anyone else? Yes, sir?
Yes.
Stand up, please, so we can hear you.
If it was on Segal's property, generating revenue, would that be a reduction in the town's taxes, personal taxes?
Absolutely.
And how much Segal town property are we talking about?
Well,
more than one, more than three, more than four locations? And what would the reduction be on for the rest of our citizens if we were getting that?
This discussion would be for after. We actually have a proposal that we're going to share with you all. And that's a perfect question for after this meeting.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Moving on.
I have a concern about the foundation of this ordinance. And back when we did the comprehensive plan, in order to get that processed and voted on, we had to hold, I think, 2 or 3 public hearings. And my concern is if this ordinance in itself is challenged by some large company, are we standing on firm ground right here? Because we only have just a cross-section of the town.
I feel confident that we are. The law firm that we solicited for this, they specialize in this. And they actually represent, they work for the solar companies on one end, and they also are building these ordinances in towns around Maine. So, and this is a working ordinance. I know Mechanic Falls, for example, has this ordinance. I think they have 3 commercial facilities now in Mechanic Falls that fall under these rules.
Any history of anybody challenging
There was a formula as to how the annual inspection was charged, and there was a threat of challenging it, but then nothing ever came of it. Because I read about that one in the Lewiston paper, but no, there's nothing yet. So.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Mr. Earl.
So on the panels themselves, you mentioned something about a $15,000 per acre value on the cap.
Once property is converted to a commercial solar farm, it's considered commercial real estate. So when the assessor, what was $600 an acre becomes approximately $15,000 an acre. So that's how the land will be taxed. No, the state of Maine won't let anybody tax these things. You could put $5 million worth of panels, it's like they're not there. Yeah.
And the companies aren't taxed.
Another reason they're coming here. I don't just mean Sangerville, but Maine. So.
And that's kind of another thing about the ordinance. You know, that's why there's all of these fees in there to help offset some of these costs of everything. So.
Now, is that per year of 5,000? Or is that
I didn't hear it. What?
Is that per year, 5,000 applications?
Yeah, no, there's an application fee on the front end, and that's calculated differently than the annual inspection fee. And the annual inspection is forever, every single year, which most of these are 20-year minimums. Some of them have an additional 20 contingent. So you could be looking at 40 years worth of inspection fees.
They also contain lead, cadmium, selenium, and mercury.
Right.
So that's a big concern on my end.
And that's why these upfront bonds with significant inflation riders on them, we feel is really important.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
So there seems to be a lot of contention, you know, there's questions, there's a lot on people's minds, and it comes down to one vote. So if we don't want them coming here, the solar farms coming here, how do we vote on this article?
That's not one of these, that's not in this. This is basically to try to protect the town when they get here. This is not an outright ban, and I don't even know that that's legal to ban them. I'm not sure.
Well,
I know you can't ban you can't ban residential. I know that. So, but I don't know about if somebody owns a piece of property and they want to enter into this commercial agreement. I don't know that the town can just outright ban it. You can regulate it, but I don't know that we can ban it.
Over here, now.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, without this ordinance, a company could come in, make a deal with a private landowner, and there would be no regulations based on the town as to what can and cannot happen. Is that correct?
The only regulations in place would be those that are set by the state.
Right.
And what isn't there, for example, is there's no application fee. There's no annual maintenance fee. In fact, we don't even have a mechanism to even inspect it. So that's how that would work.
Okay, so if we were to say yes to this ordinance, the town gains the fees plus the increase in taxes through being commercial property, and it also gets the guarantee that when it's decommissioned, everything is going to be put correct and safe.
That last component, I think we all leave the planning board, that's the most important component. If, Chris was right, I mean, these things have hazardous chemicals in them, and who knows, 20 years from now, if somebody has these on their property, they might just walk away from the property and say, I don't want to clean that up. We will have the money to do that. We'll have that in escrow.
I don't think it's a secret that solar farms are coming. If you drive in any direction, and they're on the landscape. Without this, we're essentially allowing whatever's going to happen is going to happen without any say in it. This allows us say in what happens within the town.
And it provides us protection.
You're right, exactly. Okay, thank you.
Somebody over here.
Mrs. Peters.
How does it affect people, the budding landowners in their property? It's going to be something that's going to devalue your property if you've got them looking at it right out the window?
It's hard to say. I don't know that. But
I haven't heard of anything yet of a solar farm that devalued a neighboring property that's been out in the public or any news articles yet about that. But as far as the rules the state provides, there's setbacks as far as from your property lines. There's rules about fencing. There's those type of things that's in there, yes.
Is there any chance of having this tabled so that we could have a couple of meetings to get it further introduced into what this all stands for?
We would have to have a motion to continue the town meeting. The only way we can do that. I would just like to tell you, 30 years ago, an outfit came to town and put a great big tower behind my house. And there was no audience, there was nothing. They just came and did it.
I would just, I'm not going to pretend this is a perfect ordinance, but we did a lot of research. I think we sought out one of the best legal firms in the state that works specifically on this stuff. And I think it's a very good ordinance in terms of providing protection for the town.
It probably is, but I think a lot of people, this is the first time they've been introduced to it, and I don't think they've had a chance to digest it. So my suggestion would be discuss it a little bit and then vote on it at another time.
Matt?
If we vote this and can we tweak it later?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The town ordinance,
We have to have something in effect.
Well, as things change, we might want to change this ordinance.
Right.
But it wouldn't necessarily affect a system that's already in place, but it might affect new ones. So, yes.
We have a lady here that would like to speak.
I just wondered what, if anybody considered the protections for firefighters on this, because those can be toxic. And if something happens, they're going to be one of the first ones that I just wanted to know if there's any thoughts on that.
I can't hear the fire department concerns.
Sorry, ma'am, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
I just wondered if there was any considerations for our firefighters, because these panels are toxic, and if there's something goes wrong, or there's a fire, do they have any thoughts on that? On our volunteer firefighters?
Firefighters covered by workers' comp?
Chad, handle that.
Yes. Yeah.
So I honestly don't know the answer to your question, but I'm 100% sure that there would be training. But if it was to go up tomorrow, we hadn't had that training, then anything inside the solar farm would more than likely burn because we're going to go in there and we're going to out of there.
I think there should be
Mr. Rowe?
The other thing we might think about is if we have a good ordinance, as this one seems to be, they might be less interested in settling here.
I think that's a really good point, because we are surrounded with towns that aren't really, I believe, are not really appreciating the amount of risk. So if we create hurdles, and I think they're fair hurdles, you're more apt to maybe build it in a little north or a little east of us, at least for the time being. Eventually, the real driver of this is those power lines. If Phase 3 power is going through acreage, they're looking at it. I have relationships with people in Washington County, it has gone crazy over there. But there's a lot of acreage over there. So it is definitely coming, but your point is valid.
Anyone else?
My only, I understand what everybody's thinking about possibly a ban or more time, but my concern is if we pass this over and the moratorium doesn't pass, we're wide open for anything. So that's to me, that's a risk that I'm really hoping we don't have, but that's a very big risk of passing this over.
We could pass this and in 2 years decide we hate it and get rid of it.
Sure.
I don't think that's going to happen, but you're not stuck with this forever. And if in 2 years one of these facilities is built here, they still would have to adhere to these rules tonight. So.
Lady, yes.
Jerry, did you say that the planning board has given a thumbs up to this ordinance?
Yes. The planning board thinks we should do that. Yes.
And you
It doesn't take away landowner rights, but it protects the town and our other citizens. And it does have some fencing, some setback requirements, and things that are in that designed to protect other people from what somebody else does. And it's, the ones that are in here are pretty standard in the industry. I think we really need this ordinance, I can tell you.
Could you tell me how long the planning board deliberated on this?
We've been looking at sample ones for over a year. And this one we settled on, and the select board contacted the person that drafted it and got us a real good buy. We didn't have to pay $30,000 or $40,000 to have it drafted by law. It was already on the books. She redrafted it for very little money.
So in some ways, this was kind of boilerplate that was then tailored to the needs of the town.
Yes.
Yeah, the town that it came from was a council style of government, so all that language had to be switched over, but that was the biggest change, was that.
Form of government.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically, we're not voting tonight on, hey, everybody sell your land and let's start building all kinds of solar farms. What we're doing is just putting the ordinance in, so when people start to do this, we're protected. and
We're
we've got our
protected.
laws in place.
That's exactly
That would
right.
be as I understand it, yes.
Yep.
Anybody else? Yes.
What's been taken into consideration for the fire aspect of these solar farms? Because if they put in battery storage, lithium-ion fires, no storage. Because the lithium-ion thing's an issue. Those fires, you can't, it takes tens of thousands of gallons of water to fill the storage of the electric car. Just the electric car alone, they're having a hard time putting them out. So I just want to know if there was going to be any storage, would there be anything to help with that? Any kind of suppression or alert?
It would go on here, what were you saying?
I'm sure if we get one, Chad's gonna get something for training.
Right.
I'm sure.
The fact that this is our ordinance gives us the opportunity to deal with a lot of the kind of questions that are coming up. It's our ordinance. So we can make changes, we can strengthen it, we can weaken it as a town. So our inability to do this same thing with our comprehensive plan we worked on for 20-something years has cost the town of Sangerville more money than they can imagine without even knowing about it. So if this is our ordinance, that's a really key thing here. We can make changes to it. If we just simply throw it in the ditch and say, the hell with it, then we're pretty much helpless in terms of affecting any changes.
As I would understand it, that's correct. They could, we could repeal it in 2 years if we wanted to. If the council wanted to, they could repeal it, get rid of it. Or they can make changes to it. Anyone else? If there is no one else?
Paul, you got one right there?
Yes, go ahead.
I think this is going to be reviewed yearly in order to make those changes.
Just stand, please.
Can't hear you, sir, would you please?
Use your lungs.
It's going to be reviewed yearly in order to make sure any required changes are going to be made.
Is it gonna be reviewed? I'm sure it'll be reviewed.
Yeah, in fact,
Fast as they come in, I'm sure the select people will review them.
one of the options that we talked with legal about is the annual inspection. We might change that so that the select board could adjust that as they saw appropriate, because we don't know, when I talked to the attorney, one of the concerns is the professionals that do this work, those electrical engineers, the demand for them could really ramp up. And so if that happens, we might be here next year saying we want to tweak this ordinance to give the select board the authority to adjust, for example, the annual inspection. But we didn't put that in this yet. So that's an example of a change we might make.
I also wanted to ask if, I only noticed it in section 5 when it's talking about decommissioning. What plans are in place for if something is found on one of these large-scale arrays to be hazardous to remove that, to address it? Would that be something exclusively managed by the contractor that installed it, or would that be something the town does?
That's where the kind of, my understanding, that's where this protection of the upfront bonding comes in, because if they don't do what they're supposed to do, or if they're just not around anymore, we will have the financial resources to do what is supposed to be done. And other towns that don't have these orders, they're not gonna have any financial backing. If the entity just disappears, there's no money.
Well, the entity not necessarily disappears, but just is lacks in their management. Would that count as that?
That's where the annual inspection would pick that up.
Others?
One more.
Yes.
So, I understand that there's gonna be money there if the people that installed it, the corporations, don't do what they're supposed to do. You figured in that the potential cost could rise versus what it is right now, because things get more expensive. What if we're wrong? And what if it ends up costing way more than what we have to take care of the problem?
We could adjust it, but we've got it, the formula for this has a pretty significant inflation rider on it.
You're way above state.
Yeah, we're way above the state's minimum.
Well, I'm just thinking if there's costs of things in there, which we know there are, there's things in there that we don't want to get exposed to. Those costs decline dramatically.
And the engineering firms that provide the information as to how you're gonna, how much of a bonding you would need, they know all of that. That's where these numbers are not gonna come from us.
Anyone else? Yes, sir?
After we vote on this, what happens in 180 days from now? Is reading. Yeah, I was just reading the bottom of page 64. You kept mentioning something about a couple of years, don't like it, don't like this, don't like that. How long is this in effect for?
Until.
Forever.
30
He's reading the more.
If we pass it, the ordinance will be in effect until it's repealed.
You're reading the moratorium, not the ordinance.
Anyone else? Okay. If everyone has had their say, everyone has talked the way all they want, and if you favor the ordinance, if you favor Article 37, please raise your hand. If you oppose it, raise your hand. It's a vote. Article 38, I don't believe we need that.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to pass over.
Pass over. Second.
The reason I've made the motion to pass over is we put this in here in case the ordinance didn't pass. It has passed, so 38 is moot.
And I believe that is a business. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, just a minute. Mr. Hall.
The discussion here is very important, and a lot of us are getting on like a little bit hard to hear. I was wondering if maybe for the next town meeting, we can have some lights in different places.
That's a good
Oh,
idea.
that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's
We'll see about that.
You feeling your age, Sylvia? As long as you're doing your Second, all over the place.
Do you want to just, I'm going to get that mic over here so you can.
Yeah, I'll be.
Will that cord fit over here?
I just want everybody to know that we're going to have a workshop. We're going to discuss, well, 2 items on the workshop. So anybody who wants to stay, we'll wait a few minutes and then we'll just start that discussion. Thank you for coming.
Let them go. Do you want to record the next one too? Meeting is over, now we're on the workshop?